Honestly, I didn't even know I was being suspended until 10 minutes before it was put on social media. We still have yet to hear anything from Kathy. It's no surprise. You can see what's being said on social media, and it's unfortunate, but as usual, she remains silent, and that's unfortunate when, our lives are.
Have you ever watched a single moment in a basketball game spark a debate so intense that it completely overshadowed everything else on the court? That's exactly what's happening right now. A routine playoff matchup has turned into one of the biggest talking points in the WNBA, and at the center of the storm are Alyssa Thomas and Caitlin Clark. What was expected to be another chapter in an exciting postseason instead has exploded into a nationwide discussion about player safety, accountability, fan reactions, and the future of the league itself. Now, Alyssa Thomas has finally addressed the controversy in her own words, but instead of ending the debate, her explanation has only fueled even more questions. Some fans believe she's simply telling her side of the story, while others argue that her comments avoid the biggest issue everyone is talking about.
WNBA, when they do something deplorable, do something sickening, do something with malice, with cruel intent, they are going to play the victim. Oh, we're a league full of members of the LGBTQ community. We need to play the victim.
Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark supporters continue asking whether the league did enough to protect its biggest rising star. So what exactly did Alyssa Thomas say? Why has her response divided basketball fans across social media? And could this entire controversy change how the WNBA handles similar incidents moving forward? Stay with us, because we're breaking down every major detail, every reaction, and every angle of this story from start to finish. The conversation surrounding Alyssa Thomas and Caitlin Clark has become much bigger than one controversial play. What started as a heated moment during a high-stakes WNBA matchup has now evolved into a league-wide discussion about physical play, player accountability, and the growing pressure that comes with competing under the brightest spotlight women's basketball has ever experienced. When the incident happened, social media reacted almost instantly. Video clips spread across every major platform within minutes, with fans slowing down the footage, replaying different camera angles, and debating whether the contact crossed the line. Some believed it was simply an aggressive basketball play that looked worse in slow motion. Others argued it deserved a much stronger punishment because of where the contact landed and the potential danger involved. As the discussion continued, all eyes shifted toward one person, Alyssa Thomas. Everyone wanted to know how she would respond. Would she accept responsibility? Would she apologize? Or would she explain the play from her own perspective? When she finally spoke publicly, basketball fans immediately began analyzing every sentence. Rather than ending the controversy, her comments opened an entirely new debate.
You got Courtney Williams saying this about social media.
The internet is not a real place. So I think when you treat the internet like a real place, that's when you get everybody like, oh my God. It's like, bro, you don't know these people in real life. Press the block button, bro. Press the block button and then move on. Like.
And I'm going to tell you right now, death threats, blah, 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 blah. Number one, a lot of people, and I don't know.
Thomas explained that the attention surrounding the incident had become overwhelming and emphasized that many conversations online had gone far beyond normal sports criticism. She spoke about the emotional toll that constant online reactions can have on players and their families, suggesting that the environment surrounding professional athletes has changed dramatically because of social media. That statement immediately divided fans. Some viewers agreed with her, arguing that no athlete should receive personal attacks or threats because of something that happens during a game. They pointed out that criticism is one thing, but harassment is something completely different. Others, however, believed those comments failed to answer the question everyone was asking. Instead of focusing on the online reaction, many people wanted to hear Thomas directly address the play itself. Did she believe the contact was avoidable? Did she think the officials handled it correctly? Would she approach the situation differently if it happened again? Those questions remained at the center of the conversation. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark chose not to turn the moment into a public war of words. Throughout her basketball career, Clark has built a reputation for staying focused on the game, even when surrounded by intense media attention. That approach continued here, allowing the conversation to grow largely through fans, analysts, and former players rather than through a personal back and forth between the two athletes. But that silence created another interesting dynamic. Without dramatic exchanges between the players themselves, the public began filling in the blanks. Television analysts, podcast hosts, YouTube creators, and sports commentators all started offering their own interpretations of what had happened. Every new opinion generated another wave of debate. Some argued that physical basketball has always been part of the sport and that emotional moments naturally happen during playoff competition. Others believed the WNBA now faces a different reality because the league has attracted millions of new viewers over the past year. With more cameras, larger audiences, and non-stop social media coverage, every controversial play receives far more attention than similar incidents might have received just a few seasons ago. That brings the discussion back to Caitlin Clark. Since entering the league, Clark has become one of the biggest attractions in women's basketball. Television ratings have increased, arenas have filled with fans eager to watch her play, and national media coverage has expanded significantly. Whether people support her or root against her, there's little doubt that her presence has brought enormous attention to the WNBA. Because of that popularity, every hard foul involving Clark immediately becomes national news. Supporters argue that's simply the reality of being the league's biggest star. Critics respond that basketball should still be judged the same way regardless of who is involved. Those two viewpoints continue colliding every time another controversial play occurs. As the league reviewed the incident and announced disciplinary action, reactions once again split into completely different directions. Some fans believed the punishment was appropriate and reflected the officials' evaluation of the play. Others insisted the discipline should have been much stronger, saying it would send a clearer message about protecting players during emotionally charged games. The disagreement wasn't limited to fans. Former players, sports journalists, and basketball analysts all offered different perspectives, proving there was no universal agreement about what the league should have done. That uncertainty has become one of the biggest storylines surrounding this controversy. It's no longer just about one play. It's about consistency. How should similar situations be handled moving forward? Should the league introduce stricter penalties? Or should officials avoid overreacting to isolated moments that occur during intense competition? Those questions remain unanswered. One thing, however, is impossible to ignore. Every new statement from either side keeps the conversation alive. Every interview creates fresh headlines. Every opinion sparks thousands of new comments online. And with the WNBA continuing to experience record-breaking attention, controversies like this are no longer staying inside basketball circles. They're becoming mainstream sports stories discussed across television, radio, podcasts, and digital media alike. As emotions continue to rise, many fans believe the biggest chapter of this story hasn't happened yet. Because while Alyssa Thomas has finally shared her perspective, the reactions to her comments may have created an even larger debate than the original incident itself. And what happened next would push this discussion in an entirely new direction. As the headlines continued spreading across sports media, the conversation slowly shifted away from the play itself and towards something much bigger, the future image of the WNBA. For years, the league has worked to increase television audiences, attract new sponsors, and introduce women's basketball to a wider audience. Now, with Caitlin Clark bringing record-breaking attention to nearly every game she plays, every controversial moment is being watched by millions of people who may have never followed the WNBA before. That changes everything. In previous seasons, a physical confrontation during a game might have remained a discussion among dedicated basketball fans. Today, however, every replay appears across social media within minutes, creating millions of opinions before the league even has time to respond. That's exactly what happened here. As clips continued circulating online, analysts began breaking down the play frame by frame. Some believed it showed an unnecessary level of contact, while others argued that basketball is an emotional sport where split-second decisions don't always look good in slow motion. The difference in opinion became impossible to ignore. On one side were fans insisting that Caitlin Clark deserved stronger protection because of the amount of physical attention she receives during games. On the other side were people who believed officials should treat every player exactly the same, regardless of popularity or television ratings. Both arguments gained significant support. Meanwhile, former players entered the discussion with perspectives shaped by years of professional experience. Some explained that playoff basketball has always been more physical than regular season games. They argued that intensity naturally increases when championships are on the line and that hard fouls have always been part of elite competition. Others disagreed. They suggested that regardless of emotions, every player has a responsibility to maintain control, especially during moments when frustration begins taking over. As these debates continued, another important question emerged. Did the league respond quickly enough? Professional sports organizations are often judged not only by the decisions they make but also by how clearly they communicate those decisions. Fans wanted transparency. They wanted to understand how officials reviewed the incident, what factors influenced the disciplinary decision, and whether similar situations would receive the same treatment in the future. Without detailed explanations, speculation filled the gap. Social media users created their own theories. Sports talk shows debated possible league motivations. Content creators uploaded countless videos analyzing every available angle. Instead of calming the situation, the conversation kept expanding. Then came another layer of the controversy. Several players around the league spoke about the pressure athletes face away from the basketball court. They explained that criticism has become far more personal in today's digital world, where every mistake can generate thousands of comments within minutes. Most fans agreed on one important point. Constructive criticism is part of professional sports. Threats, harassment, or personal attacks should never become acceptable. That distinction became one of the most discussed aspects of the entire story. At the same time, many supporters of Caitlin Clark argued that acknowledging online harassment shouldn't prevent honest conversations about what actually happened during the game. According to those fans, it's possible to condemn abusive behavior while also debating whether the play itself deserved stronger consequences. Those two discussions often became mixed together online, making meaningful conversations increasingly difficult. As emotions continued rising, television networks recognized just how much attention the story was generating. Programs that normally focused on game strategies suddenly dedicated entire segments to discussing league discipline, player safety, and public perception. Even casual sports fans who rarely watched WNBA games now knew the names Alyssa Thomas and Caitlin Clark. That's the power of a major sports controversy. It reaches audiences far beyond the league's traditional fanbase. Interestingly, the incident also highlighted how dramatically women's basketball has grown over the past few years. More cameras. More reporters. More interviews. More national coverage. And perhaps most importantly, far more public scrutiny. Every action is now analyzed from multiple perspectives. Every comment becomes a headline. Every interview creates another wave of reactions. That's the environment today's players compete in. For veterans like Alyssa Thomas, adapting to that level of attention isn't always easy. For rising stars like Caitlin Clark, the spotlight has become part of everyday life almost immediately after entering the league. Both realities can exist at the same time. As days passed, one thing became increasingly clear. This story was no longer only about two players. It had become a discussion about officiating standards, league leadership, media influence, fan expectations, and the responsibilities that come with representing one of the fastest-growing professional sports leagues in America. Perhaps the biggest unanswered question remains simple. What happens the next time something similar occurs? Will officials respond differently? Will players adjust their approach? Will the league introduce clearer standards? Nobody knows yet. But one thing is certain. Every future game involving Caitlin Clark will now be watched even more closely than before. Every hard foul will generate instant debate. Every official decision will be analyzed from every possible angle. And every player stepping onto the court understands that one emotional moment can become tomorrow's biggest national sports headline. As the controversy refused to fade, another unexpected development began changing how many people viewed the entire situation. Instead of discussing only one incident, basketball fans started asking a much broader question about the direction of the WNBA itself, and that conversation may become even more important than the original play. As the controversy continued dominating headlines, one reality became impossible to ignore. This wasn't just another news cycle. It had become a defining moment for the WNBA at a time when the league is experiencing more attention than ever before. Every growing sports league eventually faces moments that test its leadership. How officials respond. How players respond. How fans react. Those moments often shape public perception for years to come. This situation is no different. For many supporters, the biggest concern isn't simply whether the disciplinary decision was correct. It's whether the league can create a consistent standard that applies equally to every player, every team, and every game moving forward. Consistency builds trust. When fans understand how decisions are made, they may still disagree with individual rulings, but they are more likely to believe the process is fair. Without that consistency, every controversial play risks creating another wave of confusion and debate. That's exactly why this incident continues making headlines. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark has continued doing what she has done throughout her basketball career, letting her performances speak louder than the controversy surrounding her. Game after game, she continues attracting enormous television audiences, selling out arenas, and introducing new fans to women's basketball. Whether someone cheers for her or roots against her, there's little disagreement about one fact. She has become one of the biggest attractions in all of professional basketball. That popularity creates opportunities for the league. But it also creates pressure. Every opponent wants to compete at their highest level. Every nationally televised game carries greater expectations. Every controversial moment receives instant attention from millions of viewers around the world. For experienced veterans like Alyssa Thomas, that spotlight can feel very different compared to previous seasons. Today's WNBA isn't operating in the same media environment it experienced just a few years ago. Every interview becomes a headline. Every social media post becomes part of the conversation. Every comment is analyzed, debated, and interpreted from multiple angles. That's simply the reality of modern professional sports. As basketball analysts continued discussing the controversy, many pointed toward a larger lesson. Championship teams are often remembered not only for how they perform during victories but also for how they handle difficult moments.